Good morning, everyone, and welcome to the PivotBoss pre-market video for Tuesday, November 24th, 2020. I am Frank Ochoa, aka PivotBoss. Here's a look at the daily time frame of the ES. You'll see right now that the ES has pushed through the 3587 level. It has pushed through the top of the 3-day range here and is now retesting prices back above 3600 as we speak. A pretty good hold above 587 at the moment as the market pushed above it in after hours trading yesterday and is held above this zone throughout the overnight and pre-market trade. Right now, again, seasonally speaking, there tends to be a sideways to up push heading into the holiday, the Thanksgiving holiday here in the US and into the Monday beyond. So again, we could be looking at further upward price discovery ahead, very quiet trending price action, especially if price can continue to hold above 35.87 or even 35.80 on a retest. Can price continue to hold the 35.80s on any pullback? Because if so, we could continue to trend higher. Any failure to push back below or hold that zone and push back below could lead to a lower high and a rejection tail at the upper end of the day's range. So right now, the fact that we're above it, really need to close above it from a bullish standpoint. Otherwise, we could see a lower high rejection that could lead to more weakness. But right now, everything still flowing higher. If we take a look here at the NQ, the NQ is still in the range, still inside the range, and as a matter of fact, the range continues to compress. If you look at this, it's a compression right now that continues to go toward the apex of that pattern. Look at this right here. The 8-period ADR is so tiny, it barely registers on the histogram from this view. Again, 30% of ADR right now. If I were to make it a 9 or 10 day, it would be even smaller there. So again, we're adding 1 day to this very narrow range here with today's trading. Let's bump that up to 9, and you'll see right here, barely registers again, 29.8% of ADR. That's all of this range right here, just super compressed, and the potential is about 1,200 points of movement once we get expansion from this range. Will it be to the upside, or do we reject, say, 12,200 and turn down to 11K? That's 1,200 points. So do we go right back within the range and see about 1,200 points of range here, or are we going to see expansion with a push through 12,200 that takes us perhaps into 13.4? How is that 1,200 points going to be seen? And again, it may not be 1,200 right away when we get there, because this may continue to drop a little bit. It might be more along the lines of 1,000 points, something like that, once we see expansion. But again, still compression right now. We're still trading within the 11.8 to 12K zone. That's a very narrow 200-point range. Once we get outside of that range, again, the expectation is for a steady push higher here heading into the end of the week and early next week. But again, a failure to hold 11.8 could change that and open up a return back toward 11.4, 11.5. Let's take a look now at crude oil. Now, crude oil continues to show strength. Very bullish overall. Been trending higher in a very good elevated manner here over the last several days. I mean, look at this. Boom. Now, when we were sitting right here at 42s, again, we were showing signs of rejection, but it just didn't want to push downward. Instead, it started to see strength through the midpoint of that session at 42, and we mentioned it may be looking for a test at 44 for the first time in a long time. As a matter of fact, the last time we got this high here, it was 43.78. Today's high is 43.75. So we are 3 ticks away from the high that we saw back in August before we returned back to 36. Again, the market has not wanted to find any kind of strength above 44s in a very long time, not since the major COVID sell-off. If you look at it on this chart right here, you'll see again here is 44s coming across about right there, and that's been the market on the downside here. You can see this LVN at 35s, and that's been the range, right? We talked about this range, and as soon as price wants to find acceptance back above 44, and especially that 45, we now start perhaps the next zone here between 45 and 55. Are we going to make it back up into this market structure here, or do we fail? Again, that's the question I've been asking here over the last several days, and again, we'll see how the market responds to this zone. It's going to really need to rip through here in order to kind of make a transition out of this market structure. So right now, we're leaning toward watching for signs of rejection that could return price again back toward that sticky 40 level. All right, let's take a look lastly at gold futures. Gold has sold off. We talked about the potential for this thing to bounce ever since this sell-off day. We talked about the extreme reversal and needing to hold this zone here for a shot at 1907. It got very close. This day was the day that should have been the day before a breakout and continuation up, and instead digestive day closed negative over here. We started to run the stops through the tail of that day, and then bulls continued to hold and defend the 1860 level. I mentioned before that if bulls are defending this zone over and over but they're not getting paid, at some point their downside sell stops would get triggered and you would see a long liquidation downward, and that would likely lead us to that 1818 level and 1800. 1800 is basically on the lows today, 1801.80. We also have the 200-day moving average right below as well. Very, very important moving average down there, as this thing has seen an upward trending price discovery type phase for a while, or upward trending phase, and every time it has come back to test it, it has bounced. So this is going to be a very important zone down here, 1800 or just below, to see how the market responds to this 200-day. Do we get some sort of rejection down here, a trap below it, and then a return back to 1875? That's what we're looking for, is how do we start to see signs of rejection. If we look at the intraday time frames right now, we're showing very, very early signs of a turnaround. If price can continue to hold 1804 half today, 1804 half, we could have a shot at 1814, followed by the potential to retest VWAP, which is currently trading around 1817s. That would put price right back toward the day's midpoint, which is currently 1819. So again, there is the shot to bounce back here. We'll see how it plays out. Again, any failure to hold 1804s here likely leads to more downward price discovery. All right, that is it for now. We'll see how this plays out heading into the rest of the session. Good luck, trade well, and I'll see you in the trading room. Take care.